Hello, this is our video about the PrairieLearn drawing feature and how we made it into AutoDrawing. So in this video, we'll do an overview of the drawing panel, they're reviewing each drawing element as well as talking about some randomization we have. So with the initialization of the drawing panel, as you can see on the code on the top right up here, this is the actual code to make the drawing element. So it's an HTML code to initialize this. You can also toggle the grid lines that you can see on the picture below it. And then the measurements for these actual drawing panels is the X variable is from the left border going right, that goes positive, and then from the top border going down is Y positive. For customizing the actual drawing panel, you can see there's many different attributes, and you can see all the types as well and what their default values are. So each panel has its own defaulted values, and you can change in an initialization of the element. You can see on the code on the bottom, you don't have to include every single attribute as they're all defaulted, but anything you want to change, it looks something like that. So we're going to be reviewing many different drawing elements, which includes the lines, triangles, circles, rectangles, text, vectors, and polygons. These are the ones that our group Estimate 2433 has used so far, but there's more elements you can use in the drawing feature. Starting with the line element, you'll see a lot of the x1 and y1 attribute and different shapes and drawing elements have different initialization of it. And what I mean by that is for the line, the x1 and y1 are the location from the left border and top border that the line point will start at. Now with the line element, there's two ways to actually show how long the line is going to be. You can either do this by setting the width and the angle, or you can do this by setting the x2 and y2. If you use the width and an angle, that is if you know an angle you want to use as well as how long you want the line to be. When you do this, this will automatically set the x2 and y2 value for you based on the calculation. If you want to do the x2 and y2, that means you know where the line is starting and you know where you want the line to end, but you don't necessarily know the width and the angle. Setting those two values will auto-calculate the width and an angle for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And the color and the thickness of the line, you can see by stroke color and then the stroke width. The color we'll talk about a little bit later, because there's a lot of shapes that use different colors of how you can set these values in different ways. For the triangle element, it works a little differently with the x1 and y1 attributes and all the vertices. This is set by doing the x1, y1, x2, y2, and x3, y3 attributes. That is how you set the three different vertices of the actual triangle. Now, when you see there's two attributes, color and stroke color, the color is the actual fill of the shape, and the stroke color is the outline, and the stroke width is how thick that outline is. Another new attribute in this one is the opacity, and that's just how see-through the element is. For the circle element, again, you have the x1 and y1 points, but this is one of the first ones we see the difference, and what confused me at first even. The x1 and y1 on these is from the center point, not one of the edges. And this also introduces the label feature from some of these elements. Now the label is how you can add text to label the circle or any other element we're going to show soon. And the offset X and offset Y attributes are how you can move the label to customize where you want that text to be at. With the rectangle element, again, the X1 and Y1 attributes are from the center point of the rectangle. It's not from any of the corners. With this one, you need to set the height width, and if you want to set the angle, you can, but it's also okay to keep that angle as 0 since it has its defaulted value. With the height, that will change how much is affected in the y-axis, and the width is for the x-axis. Again, with this one, the color and stroke color, the color is what fills the rectangle, and the stroke color is the outline of the actual rectangle. The text element is one where the x1 and y1 attributes is from the top left corner that the box starts for the text. So it's not the center for this one, which was a little confusing to get the hang of. As well as you have a new latex attribute, and that makes it so if you set it to false, it won't use the latex visualization of the actual text, and you'd be able to set the label as a latex code. Whereas if you turn it true, you have to use the latex code in order to actually have your text in order it will be visualized as latex. With this one, you could also do the offset X and offset Y. It's a little confusing, but that is just from the actual text element you created where it is offsetted from that top left point. The vector element is one of the ones that uses a lot of the electrical engineering and physics part of the drawing feature that we have not used as a group. But as you can see, there's a lot of different customization with the vector, and this is how we drew arrows when we needed them. So the x1 and y1 is similar to the line, where it has that actual point that you start at, and then you can set the width and the angle as you need to, set labels and all that kind of stuff with the colors. One of the more interesting ones with this is be able to change the actual arrowhead, so you can do the different width, length of the arrowhead, and a bunch of different things. As well as if you look at the bottom 4 attributes listed on the right, that is for the auto grading feature of drawing elements. We never use this, but there is ways to drag elements into the drawing feature. So when people are actually adding to an initial drawing that you set, they can make it so you can see if you want it to be gradable and how much the offset is to still reward a student points. The polygon element is one that's interesting, as the plist attribute is how you actually set the different points for a polygon. This is for any other shape you want. As you can see, we wanted a trapezoid in one of our drawings, so we had to make our own custom polygon. Now, a big thing with the polygon is the order in which you list the points, as you can see down in the code, is the order the line draws. So if this first top left point is initialized at first, you would either need to select this top right one or the bottom left one. If you did the bottom right point, then it would cut through and it wouldn't make the trapezoid as intended. This is very similar though with the color and stroke color as any other shape. You could do the fill as well as the outline. When I keep talking about color, there's multiple different ways you can actually do a color in PrairieLearn. One way is to use any of these titles for the color in the color attribute, and this is all things PrairieLearn has preset for you. Another way you could do it is just use the 6-digit hex values in order to do your colors. And here's like a little visualization of all the colors, specifically with their title. Moving on to the randomization that we do in order to generate a drawing every single time that is unique for each student. In the server.py file, you want to generate these values and randomize them however you want and pass them through params, which is what you see on the code on the bottom. And the distinction between fully random and or choosing between a set of random values is something you need to make. For some of these things, some of these values, you just want to pick a random number, whatever the range is, whereas some, when you want to pick a certain letter, for example, you need to set an array of elements that you want to pick from randomly, which is easy to do, and I'll show you in our code how we do that. In the HTML code randomization, you just need to read these values in HTML. And as you can see in the x1 element, the params with the double bracket is how you actually set that value wherever you want. And you'll still need to fill out the element with the rest of the code you want hard-coded, but that whatever you want randomized, you just pass through with the params, and you could do that for multiple different attributes of one of the drawing elements. So here are some of the resources we use for this, which includes PrairieLearn's documentation over all these elements and some of the elements that we didn't cover here. You have our group's documentation, which I talk about all the stuff I talked about in this video a little more in depth. And then as well as you have a tutorial kit that the PrairieLearn devs made, which show you all the different elements. Before I end this video though, I just want to show you some of the drawing features that we implemented on our website that you guys can access. Our server, I should say. So this is a drawing element that's going to be more static, but you could change the ports, and you can see all the different polygons, the different colors of arrows, and that in here. Another way we do it is through this drawing, and again, clicking new variant, I should have shown. It changes the variables of the ports, what's inputs and outputs, as well as the location of these. And then the final one you can see is this drawing, again, where it switches. When I hit new variant, we'll switch the location of which ports are inputs and what the actual inputs are. Thank you, and this was our presentation on the PrairieLearn auto drawing feature.